Hello, this is Mohammed, and I'm back with the part 3 of the Employee Vaccination Information Management Development tutorial. Last time we actually developed this vaccination types module, so you should have something like this by now if you're following the tutorial series. And it looks pretty ugly table, so we're going to try to pretty it up a little bit with the technologies like Bootstrap and DataTables CDN. Alright, so this is how your code is supposed to look like. That's what we did last time. Now, one thing I was looking at is once you have this table data dynamically retrieved by the time leaf, you really don't need this description text anymore. So that should still work. And I'm going to make that minor change. Now, the next thing we're going to do is let's see if we could add, some nice style sheets and without too much work. So the first thing we would be doing is going to Google, of course, and let's search for Bootstrap for download. That's what I'm going to do. And I like to go straight to, this is the latest one. So if you see download Bootstrap 4.6, that's what I would click on. Kind of scroll down because you could of course get the source file. We don't want that. We don't want to put the source file. These are all stuff that you can download, but we don't want to download anything basically. We just want to reference the cached version. So you can either use this one or that one. The difference between this one and that one is basically this one does not have this one has everything kind of included together in one thing. This one kind of separates it out. Well, what I like to do is I like to copy the style sheet, so this line, and then I'm going to go ahead and copy it right underneath the metadata. And then we'll go back to that site again, and we're going to go ahead and copy all of the stuff on the second section. I can actually just copy here and then paste it right here. So now I got one style sheet referenced, and then there's like 3 JavaScript references from Bootstrap. Alright, so that's good. So far so good. Now the next thing is, of course, let's go back, and one thing I like to do is to go to the get started and kind of scroll down a little bit. The very first thing that we should really be putting on the meta tag is these two. That kind of makes our web page kind of responsive and supports the different devices. So I like to copy these two. And I went to getting started, by the way, and then I'm gonna go ahead and replace this meta tag right here. So that does 2 things. One is it sets my character set, which is basically Unicode 8-bit UTF-8, and then sets my viewport. Okay, so that's that, and then we just kind of included it. You can see some little bit of changes, because it's using the Bootstrap default table style sheets and all that, which is cool. That's good. The next thing I want you to do is go ahead, open another tab, and we're going to go ahead and type DataTables CDN and hit enter, and just click on the very first link that you see. This is also an open source that I like to use. It actually creates lots of extremely powerful and gives you a lot of built-in capability of data tables. And it's free to use. Alright, so we go to the download section, and I'm going to select what I need. So I'm going to select data tables. We already have Bootstrap, we need to select that. And I know we already included jQuery 3, so we don't need to include that because that came with the Bootstrap. So this is fine. And I'm going to use these features. Go ahead, select the buttons, column visibility, HTML5, JSZip, PDF make, print view, column reorder, fix column, fix headers. Maybe you use this, responsive, and select. That's kind of it. I mean, you are welcome to select all of them, but I'm not going to use all of it. And then it automatically kind of builds this for you. Then what you want to do is you kind of select everything in here, copy, and go ahead, paste it right here. Now, of course, I like to keep my style sheets in one section, so I'm going to go ahead and copy that and put that in this with this style sheet, and then keep the scripts separate. So that's kind of it for the libraries that we're going to need. Now, of course, we need the CDN libraries, but we have not told our applications how to use it. So nothing would change. Good. But let's see how we can add some stuff to it. Alright, so the next thing I want you to do is go back to that CDN site, and you can pretty much go to simple examples and just go to zero configuration, because I don't like to memorize the codes. So they kind of give you the sample codes right here, JavaScript. So you can pretty much copy this and then come back, and I'm gonna go ahead and simply create a script tag, and then right here create script tag and paste that piece of code that I just copied. Now this code basically says that, okay, I got all this CDN library imported, but I'm going to use it to show my data table, to use that. Now this example refers to the ID of your table, so ours is not called example. So I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of things. One is get rid of this border thing, we don't need that, and change that to say ID equals vaccine type, so give some unique name, and then I'm going to add a class called display. Spell display. Okay, there you go. And then that should be the ID, so we're going to now tell the CDN table, this little piece of simple code here, to say show me the data table. Alright, go ahead, I'm going to save that and come back here, and let's see what happens. Voila, there it goes. See, now we got this nice tabular list which we can sort, right? And then we can also do a search. It's all built in, and like if I search for flu, let's say, it automatically filters it. Alright, so we added this nice gadget without actually much coding. So let's move on to the next thing to see if we can put some colors and pretty this down a little bit. Okay, now that we have our table a little bit nice looking, let's go try to add some Bootstrap style sheet to make it a little bit more organized. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to put this table and the script inside a section. So let's tab this. So put that in a section. Okay, send it the section tag, and for the section, this would be our container. Alright, so then inside the section, let's tab this thing one more time. We're going to use Bootstrap's grid. That actually makes the layout looks pretty nice. So we're going to use a div, and that would be a row, and we will say justify center content. It basically says that whatever we are putting inside this div will be all center justified. And of course the div ends right here. Okay, so let's see how that looks now. Alright, not that bad. Okay, so now it actually looks a little bit nicer. Now, another thing we're going to do is we have this H1. Let's center this thing up a little bit. So we can use a Bootstrap class called text center. Actually, I think I got that spelled wrong. then it's justify content center. That's why it didn't center align. Alright, this is much better. So it still looks kind of weird because it's too close, so let's fix that up. I will have some top menu, so we're going to try to push this entire border a little bit down. So at this point we're also going to need, and also I don't like the header color, it kind of looks all the same, so we're going to try to change that as well. So let's go ahead and add our own custom style sheet. So the way you do it, you typically put all of your static content, style sheet is the static content, in here. So I'm going to create a new folder underneath static called CSS, and then underneath the CSS let's go ahead and create a new file. I'm just going to call that site.css. You can call it anything you want. Here the first thing we're going to do is say that our body, of course, will have a 100% of the height, and then I'm going to do some padding top, that's 125 pixels. So that would be nice. Yet, because I have not added it to our HTML. Alright, so one thing that we need to do here is we need to make sure that we add our custom style sheet right here. So just gonna go ahead and copy this, and this is gonna change. It'll be our own custom style sheet. Now since you're using TimeLift, it gives us a dynamic way of adding the path. So the way you do it is you kind of say TimeLift's href, and then start with an @ sign, that, and you kind of like writing a little bit of a scriptlet here that basically says that wherever our site starts, from there you go ahead and look for this specific path. Now it automatically knows that all of our static contents will be in the static directory, so after that it's going to look for this directory CSS and then site CSS. So that's all. Go ahead, save that, and let's go back, and it should use our new style sheet, and it did. As you can see, it's pushed down a little bit. Next thing we're going to do is try to put some padding on the table, so that kind of like there's a space between header and the table, and also try to change the header color of this. Alright, so let's go back to our style sheet quick, and then actually, yeah, we can do it in the section. That would also work. So just a section, and what we want to do is section should be a little bit of padding to the top, and let's just say 25 pixel. I'm not gonna do it. Let's look back, and it did it. Put some spaces. Okay, good. And then next thing is let's change the color. I don't like the color of the header. So the TH, we want the color of the text to be white, of course. No, two spaces. Okay. Then the background, I want that to be dark blue, let's say. You can kind of see the color of how this is going to look if you just put your mouse over here. So let's go ahead and save that. Go back to site, fresh, and it's now looking not so bad. That's kind of good, and as you can see, I can sort and do all that. So I'm happy so far. So, and header looks nice. So the next thing we're going to do is we need to put some menu on the top, because that's eventually what's going to drive all the different types of functionalities. So how do we do that? Well, go back here, and what we're going to do is we're going to use something called Bootstraps Navigation. So we put all this thing in a header section. So there is a header and header. That's the first thing we add, and then we of course we put the navigation items. So we're going to use a Nav Bar. So the way we do it is we start with the Nav Bar and we use the class. So we're going to use the Nav Bar class, and then we're going to say it would be a Nav Bar expanded, of course, and it would be a Nav Bar dark, and then it would be something that justify the center content. So whenever we move our resize our window, it will just kind of resize the middle piece. Content between. So that's what that is, and then I'm just gonna say put this as well, so fixed to the top, so it won't move here and there. And then you also need to put this role navigation. Okay, there it goes. So that's a navigation starting point, and then of course the first thing you want, let's say you want logo, right? So then you want to put an image. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna put an image. And of course the image is the source. Well, here what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that my source, it's going to be a dynamic source, because we're going to put in the image right under the static in an images directory, but we cannot hard code it, so we need to say that whatever the site starts, that's where you need to go from there, images directory, and then the image. So we will use the ThymeLeaf scriptlet that basically says that we're going to try to put that in the images slash, let's call it logo dot something like a PNG. All right, and that's going to be our image, and then we also going to put let's say a text, right? Well, let's just see if this works first. So let's go ahead and save that. And of course we don't have the images yet. First of all, let's go create a directory right here. Right click, new folder, images, and go here. What I typically like to do is just get some images from Google, of course, and I'm gonna go ahead and search for vaccine logo, let's say something like that. And then I don't want to get into trouble, so what I do is do the advanced search, and then I want to find out all the commercial license. That means that I could reuse it. And transparent would be nice, but you don't have to make it transparent. Then to the search, and you get all kinds of things. Oh, I like this one. Let's pick that one. Kind of looks like employee vaccine management. So right click, and how about open image in a new tab? Right click, save image as. Not there. I want it to be. You need to save that image into your projects. You go to source, main, resources, static directory, images. That's what I'm going to save it. I'm going to call it logo.png, of course. Alright, that's that. Now, once you downloaded that, what I typically do is right click and refresh this. So this kind of shows up on the images directory right here. Just for the sake of it, let's just put some text in here as well. So let's say we wanted to, beside the image, we want this title right here. Maybe a couple of spaces would be nice. So put NBSP colon, something like that. And that should be it. Let's go ahead and see how that looks. Alright, not bad. But of course, the image is nice here, but I want that image to be a little bit smaller, and I want this thing to be all the way to the left. So let's see how we can do that. And of course, I want a nice bar. Let's see how we can do that one. All right. So first of all, we don't want the image to be that big. So let's. Another good practice is you always wanted to put an alt tag, this for accessible compliant. Just give that an image a name, like it's an AVMS logo or something like that. And then we're going to change the width. Width is equal to, let's say, we just wanted to say 8% or 10% or something like that, or small. Okay, and then let's make that a link. Anchor object, and then we're going to use the class called it's a navigation bar brand. What that does is that will automatically force the images to be on the left and everything else. So that's our Nav Bar brand, and we'll have an image in there. Oh, let's put an href to say you don't need to go anywhere. Just stay right here. And then go all the way to the end and end that. So we kind of put that in inside the link, and this would go on the left side of the entire thing. Let's see how that works. Okay, that's kind of good. So it went on the left. Now of course we lost our thing. It's actually here, and the reason you don't see it is because by default the Nav Bar text is white because I did the dark. So let's go ahead and change the color of this bar quickly in the style sheet. So we go back to the style sheet, and then there's a couple of things that we need to take care of in the style sheet. You know, to change put our own color in there. So first of all, we need to go ahead and send Nav Bar. That's the one we're going to change. Eventually, we're also going to need it for our drop down. So I'm just going to use this at the same time. So there is a class called drop down menu. So for both of these, we want a specific background color, and so we're going to say background dash color, and you could even say dark blue. That also works. You can have other colors. Okay. So there you go. That's your background color, and all right, it's not too bad. So there's a nice navigation bar menu at the top, and that's our background color for that. So I think I'll stop at this. So next time what we'll talk about is we'll add kind of like a menu item for vaccination type with the drop down piece in there, and then we're also going to add a background image, and then we will eventually add a message properties where we will not hard code the text. We will be coming from the properties file. If you want to have access to the source code, I'm going to put the GitHub link at the bottom of this YouTube video in the description section, so you can just check it out and then compare with your code. Thanks for watching.